All right, everybody, welcome back to the Collegiate Cast. Today we're talking about children and childhood development specifically, because that is just such an exciting topic to talk about. We're going to be getting into our favorite memories, some things that we remember, some things that have been told to us enough times that it honestly should be our own memories. And we're going to be getting into like the specific stages of childhood development. And we're also going to introduce ourselves. So my name's Alizay.
I'm Delyann.
I'm Cate.
I'm Alejandro.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to get to know us a little bit first. So, Cate, if you want to start us off, what is a very vivid memory that you remember?
Well, the first time I counted to 100, for some reason, I remember this so vividly. My mother was in the bathroom. I can't remember if she was doing her business or cleaning the bathroom, but she was in the bathroom and I was just outside with where the vent was, because there was a giant vent just in the middle of our hallway. And I decided I'm going to count every single ridge on this vent. So I just kept counting. And then I realized that after 99, I didn't know what was there. So I just go, Tenity 1, Tenity 2. And then I heard my mom gasp in the bathroom. It's like, you counted to 100. I'm like, what? I think I was
100.
I think I was like 3.
Wow, very solid memory. Coming to Tenity.
Tenity.
Tenity. That's the new 100, everybody. That's just how it's going to go. All right. Alejandro, do you have one for us?
I do. There was a period of time when I was like a toddler that me and some cousins, we all lived together for about a year. And me and my cousin Huli, we were always like, we'd always get into some kind of trouble. And it was just the two of us, and we just hung out a lot. I don't know, like, what started this, like, familial friendship, but we were, like, always side by side. And there was this one, I remember being told that what we would do is we somehow communicated to each other. Like, we couldn't really talk that well yet, but we somehow communicated that there were Skittles on top of a counter, and if we climbed on top of each other, we could get those Skittles off the counter. We somehow managed that, and they were, like, all over the floor. And by the time my mom had figured it out, we had eaten most of them. So she was like, dang it, I got to go get a broom. So she leaves, comes back with a broom, and they're all just gone. So we somehow managed to stomach all these Skittles between the two of us.
Wow. And how old were you?
I don't know. We were probably, like, 4. It was, like, we could barely walk. So maybe not 4. It was, like,
yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, definitely younger than
4.
that. I remember, yeah, because we could crawl, at least, is what I've been told.
Okay, so like already scheming at the age of 2.
Yeah, you know, it's...
I think my first memory is actually quite similar, just in the sense that I was curious and I broke something, but, well, I don't even know, this is such like, it's very unclear, but I just know it's like one of my first memories ever, but I just remember running around, okay, so my uncle that lives in Arkansas, he has, like, this really big, like, island in his kitchen, and I just remember, like, running around it so many times, and at some point, it was either me or my brother that broke a vase, and I just remember, like, yelling.
Oh, yes, as one would.
It's more interesting than my first memory.
Right? My memory is, like, kind of the opposite. I probably remember earlier than this, but, like, this is a very vivid memory. So back in first grade, I was a very petty child. Let me preface with that. I still am petty, but like, petty, but like, so I had this friend, and she promised, or something happened that we said we were gonna play together at the playground today. And so we get to said playground, and I'm waiting to go play with her. But she goes off and she plays with some other people, and I'm like, how rude. So I guess I go off and play with someone else, and then I go sit in the shade for a little bit because it's hot. We don't even getting tan. And at the end of recess, they bring all of our water bottles out because they have them in like this container with our names on it. I uncap my water bottle and I dump all of my water on her.
So you've always been starting fights.
So like, I'm like with like indifference like on my face. Like I straight face just dumped water all over this poor girl. And I was wearing these brand new like pumps, these like white flower pumps. The one thing I was mad about was the fact that they got wet. That's all I was mad about.
Oh my gosh.
I remember that so well. They were brand new, and I was so mad that she stood so close to me that I got water on my pumps.
Oh my
So mad. Okay, and then at the end of the day, the teacher comes up to me, and she's like, you can't be dumping water all over people. Obviously, no more teacher voice, but I don't remember exactly what she said. I did not apologize. I sat there, in the grass with my wet shoes, mad because those shoes were wet. That was it.
Oh
my gosh.
Okay. Do y'all remember your first words?
I have it
I
in
don't
my
remember
book.
them, but
Oh my God,
No,
yes.
I know what it is. I just don't remember saying it.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, everybody's like, dada and mama, but like,
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty
It's
bland.
probably in here. If not, I could probably text my mom real quick.
yes.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
do
Okay,
explain.
so I am my parents' first child. I was the first grandchild on my dad's side. And so my mom did something special, and she got this baby calendar from Nestle.
The chocolate milk
Very-
brand?
Yes, yes. And it's just my first 12 years of life. Hold on, it's gonna take me a second to find it.
Oh my gosh, while she's finding it, are y'all older or younger siblings?
Older.
I'm the youngest in my family.
I am the oldest in my family, but the youngest of all my cousins. Which is a little awkward. Because I'm like older. I'm like right at that gap. Like everybody's like 18 and older, and I'm 17. And so like there's that gap right there. That's like we're almost there, but I'm just not close enough. Have you found it?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it's in here, actually. I think that's one of the stickers she forgot to do.
I could talk about mine because
Oh my
I
gosh,
have
yes,
a
please do.
funny little story about this morning. So I asked my mom, like, what my first word was. And the way that she told me was, so your first word was mama, but with a gur in front of it? Because grandma wanted that to be your first word? I'm like, what is that? My first word was grandma.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Sucks for your
Just
mom.
refused to say that, but
I was like trying to figure it out. Like, grandma?
yeah, it was grandma.
I couldn't find it, so I texted both of my parents, but I do believe it might have been something in Spanish because, unbeknownst to a lot of people, Spanish was my first language. I know I look very white, but my mother is Hispanic, and we lived with her parents for more than a month, but I actually don't know how long. So yeah, I think every single one of my siblings, except for my oldest brother, their first word would have been in Spanish.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That reminds me. I don't think it's my first word, but one of my first words was a word in Urdu, but it was meant for a word in English, so it's gonna take a minute. But like, so pretty much Abishafa is a word for like holy water.
And you said that as your first word?
No.
I was going to say, that's impressive.
Not that complex, but Abishafa was like the word for holy water, and then obviously you had water. We had pani, which was like word for regular water. So I used to, because I always heard Abishafa, because we'd always have like holy water around in the house, and so my poor little mother, I used to call water Abade, because that's what I thought Abishafa was. So I'd run around for like 2 months calling the water Abade. My mom could not figure it out for the life of her. It took like so many trials and errors for her. It was really funny.
Oh yeah, I'm here too. I forgot. My first word was just mama. Like, that was it, which is kind of funny because I still call my mom. Like, I'll just be like, hey, mama. Like, I don't know. I just call her mama. It's kind of weird, but, I do it anyway.
No, I did the exact same thing. Well, I mean, mama goes into ma. That's like, that's it always ends up being ma. Doesn't matter what culture you come from. That's just ma. Is food ready?
With a
Yeah.
slight
accurate.
accent twist.
Yeah. And then my dad, he has never been daddy. Like, my mom has called him that to like try and teach us that. I've said that like once or twice, actually referring to him. He's always been papi. Like, in my contacts, he's papi, nothing else. I like say dad when I'm like talking to other people, but
It's funny because in my contacts, my mom is mami, like the Spanish version of mommy, which is just M-A-M-I. My dad, though, is just dad. And I think it's so funny.
it makes sense.
Because, like, he's the white man that my mother married.
No, it's funny because we're the same way. Like, my mom's Hispanic and my dad's, like, whiter than the moon.
My dad's name is Keith, believe it or not.
That's too funny. That's what a vibe. My parents purely Urdu names, Ammi and Abba. I've literally never called my dad daddy or dad. Like, all my friends refer to my dad as Abba. Because
That's nice.
that's like, that's it.
Oh, my mom just responded to the first word.
did she
She
say?
said it was either teta, which means bottle in Spanish,
Solid.
or dada.
So you either wanted food or your dad. Like, you got your priorities
Which
straight.
one?
What was y'all's favorite food as children? Because, like...
I know the answer to food in general and baby food, both.
Okay,
And they
go for
are
it.
actually still kind of the same.
Go for it.
Okay, so the little, like, now they're plastic, but they were, like, glass little Gerbert thingies.
I thought the food was now plastic. I was so worried.
No. The little glass Gerbert containers that the caps made a funky popping sound. The vanilla and, like, the strawberry banana, they were so good, and I'm not ashamed of it. Sometimes I get baby food instead of yogurt if I'm, like, bored of yogurt.
Okay,
But
variety.
it's not like peas and chicken. what human being likes peas and chicken baby food? Anyway, but like since forever, it's this Puerto Rican thing called sorullos, and I might have mentioned it before on an episode. I've probably mentioned it just in general. It's like, the way I explain it is like the outside of a corn dog, but better. Because it's just like cornmeal, like shaped into like either a little ball or a little stick, and then you have it with mayo ketchup, which is just mayonnaise and ketchup. And I have been eating, like, because when I was a kid, I couldn't eat the outside because it's like softer on the inside and then it's crispy on the outside. And literally, I would cry until my family members like cut it in half and gave me like the inside, and they had to scoop it out, and I would just like suck on the like hard part until like they took it out of my mouth. And I've been doing that since I was 8 months old.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, I eat them normally now, but you know.
Baby food, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. I got a little distracted. I couldn't tell you what my favorite food was growing up, but I can tell you my first baby food, which was carrots, on New Year's Day of 2006.
Oh, yes.
Very specific.
That's why we have the calendar here.
Oh, what was the thing that you had like 4 days before the day I was born?
Oh, yeah. Okay, let me find December 2005. 4 days before you were born, I had my first cereal.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
wow.
ate cereal and I was born 4 days later.
It was rice cereal. So carrots wasn't the first thing I ate, but it was the first, like, you know, from the jar baby food.
Mm-hmm.
Did eating cereal cause
No.
Yeah, is that,
I ate cereal, and then you
Okay.
materialized.
Yeah, Trinity just asked if her eating cereal caused me to be born. No, I don't think my mom would have had a miscarriage if you didn't eat cereal on that day, but, you know, who knows?
Somehow, me eating cereal all the way in Texas
Yeah.
influenced the life of a Puerto Rican woman.
Yeah, I don't think that's why, but okay.
That would be very cool. Anyways.
So I don't know about baby food, but I remember something that like in like pre-K and elementary school, my favorite thing to eat were beans. It was like
Like string beans?
No, just sorry, like
kidney
pinto beans, like
Pinto
refried beans, pinto beans. It's so much so that the point that my mom still calls me frijolito, which means little bean. So, yeah, beans.
So we got to
right?
start calling you that now.
No, please
Yeah, we
don't.
do.
Please don't. I mean, she sent me a list of all the nicknames, and it's like a paragraph.
Read that
to the,
out
to the,
right
to
now.
the
You gotta
point
read
you
it
gotta
out.
scroll on the like Wheel of Fortune, like, you know, all the way. You know, yeah. Yeah, it's. I don't know if I want to go through this. I don't know if I want to go through this.
You should
You
do some of your
should.
some of her favorites, like
Do like
the
top
ones
5.
that she top 5.
Top 5. Okay, well,
Top
hey,
5.
I gotta find these real quick. This is like
Okay.
So my family calls me Hondo, which is like the most common thing. Not the car. There's an O, not an A. It's because my sister, she couldn't pronounce my name when I was born. She'd be like, Alejondro. So yeah, I'm Hondo now apparently. So my mom will call me Hondito, frijolito. Let's see what else we got here. I can't even pronounce that. It's you know what? I don't feel comfortable sharing some of these. One of them is
You already sealed
yeah,
your fate
yeah.
with frijolito. If that slips out, that's not my problem.
Yeah, one of them's yeah.
Yeah, frijolito. What's
No,
up?
please don't. Please don't.
You're
Yeah.
like English translation over here. We scream little bean
Yeah.
down the hallway.
Yeah, it's a long list. We'd be here all day, really.
I don't remember my first food, but so there are these two foods. They're from like Southeast Asia. I don't remember specifically where, but biryani and nihari. Nihari is like a salan, which is like a curry but thicker. No, maybe it's thinner. Anyways, really good. Has really nice shredded beef in it. That's nihari. Biryani is rice, like flavored rice, and then you have potatoes. Well, there's different types of biryani, but my favorite is potatoes, and then you have some meat, and depending on who makes it, you can have a couple like peas and stuff like that and veggies in there. Anyways, so I'm like obsessed with those foods. My dad likes to joke that I came out of the womb eating those because I love them.
Yeah, that's me with
like,
sorullos. We're in the same boat.
There we go. Like as a kid,
I
I would always eat that off my parents' plate because they'd be like too spicy. Because, you know, you gotta have a certain spice level for your food to taste good, right? So, like, they'd be too spicy. So I wouldn't be able to eat, or they'd have to, like, really, really, like, not water it down, but, like, take the spice level down by putting lots and lots of yogurt on it. Obsessed. Love it. To this day, I want it all the time. Like, if my dad's like, oh, what do you want to eat? Biryani nihari. Right away. Like, no thought. My dad has stopped asking me. He just brings it home. Like, that's how much I love it.
If I had access to sorullos whenever I wanted, I'd be dead. Like, you'd see me on, like, 600-pound life. Like, my veins would just be clogged. It is just straight, like, cornmeal every day.
Yeah, I know. This is a little healthier than that.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, potatoes have always been a favorite food of mine. So, like, you know, if you ever want to bring me some fries or anything, please feel free.
I had some earlier.
And you didn't save
But they were, like, cold.
They were cold by the time I got back. We walked to McDonald's.
Oh, I see.
So far.
Well, you know, next time, you know, if you ever...
I'll keep it in mind.
Thank you.
Right.
I really greatly appreciate that.
So you really do want a sack of potatoes as a graduation gift. That just clicked. I thought that was just some random, like, kind of cheap thing you said. I mean, actually, a sack of potatoes isn't that cheap.
Ain't that cheap anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, no.
Then maybe I will. I don't know.
Deli just pulls up with a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
That would be bomb. I would love that. That would be an amazing gift. I don't know if they last to, like, go and move into school, but we'll definitely use those. Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit, get to more of the sciencey side. So two main people were, like, the first to really think about childhood development in late 19th, early 20th centuries. And those two people, Freud, obviously, and then Piaget. So Freud, little background, he worked with a very famous Vienna doctor, and he would take, and a majority of that doctor's patients were women. So he would take these women in and analyze them and, like, do his form of therapy with them. And with that, he came up with the psychosexual stages of development, which is really long to explain. But essentially, there's 3 or 4 different stages, and they, depending on which stage, how you complete each stage is how you will act growing up. So you have, like, the ending stages, the end of each stage are, like, mama's boy, dada's girl, or dada's boy, mama's girl. Yeah. Or, like, you're completely independent of your parents, or you're too dependent on your parents, or something like that. And then there's Piaget's stages of development, and that came about to be in the late 19, early 20th, as we said before. And he's from France, and he was actually set out to do IQ tests. And from that, because France wanted to create a public school system, so they used IQ tests to determine which section or, like, which placement, where you be placed on the school system. So, like, are you going to be placed on a track to go into business, into marketing, and, like, different career tracks, or were you just not going to have a career? And he came up with IQ test as a way to determine, like, it was an easy determination. So from those IQ tests, he kind of came up with these different stages of development. So I'm going to read some of them out, and I want to hear y'all's opinion and, like, reaction of them.
I'm already excited. I am so hyped to take psych.
Yeah, I know. It's really interesting. Like, these dudes are, like, trying to figure out children, and children are over here, like, we're just vibing. Like, I don't know why you're trying to do this to us. Anyways, so we start with the sensorio-motor stage, which is from birth to 2, and these are when a lot of the intentions of the baby, a lot of the intentions of the baby are, like, action-based. So, like, learning to walk, learning to crawl, learning to bite, learning to chew, having your teeth come in. So y'all think that's pretty accurate? I feel like that's...
Yes,
really...
but I do have something interesting to note on that. I walked when I was 1, and I ran when I was, like, 1.5-ish.
Yeah.
But something interesting is that I had a full-blown conversation with my aunt when I was like 2 years old, like full sentences.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
sure the topic was not something highly intellectual, but she, every time, pretty much like every other time I see her, she is like, oh my God, I remember when you were 2 years old and you held a full-blown conversation with me. We were sitting on this couch on this day, and like, it's hilarious. I don't know. I don't really know why. I mean, I kind of know why, because my grandma was an English teacher, so always like English in general was like really big. So I don't know, but like
And to add, a lot of like the primary accomplishments that you would have going through this time period is like mental representation and object permanence. So like learning that things are there, like your parents are going to be there, and like that toy that you slept with is going to be there when you wake up, kind of thing. Or like if that toy is like taken away for a minute, or like it goes out of your sight, you can start forming a picture of it in your head. It's pretty cool. I obviously don't remember doing that. I didn't really have a toy as a child either. I think I had like a blanket.
I had a mixture of both. It was a toy and a blanket. Wow. It was my favorite thing ever.
All of the above. Look at you go. Do you have it from your calendar?
Yes,
Kate?
I have it from my calendar. My first step was right before I turned 9 months old.
Wow.
And I started walking less than a month later.
Look at you go.
Yeah.
Overachiever over there.
I guess. My teeth, because I heard you bring that up.
Yes.
My teeth started to come in the same month I took my first step. Hold on.
You want to give us like the date, the time?
May 2006. May the 4th be with you.
Oh, yes.
God.
My
It's
first.
coming up. We got to celebrate
Oh
this.
yeah. Anniversary.
Yeah, my teeth started coming, and then I had 5 teeth before I turned 1 year old.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You could like take a bite.
I could.
Wow.
What else did you say?
Just walking, learning to talk, I guess, would be, I mean, you'd have your first words when you were around that time.
There's a lot right here. Right before I turned 9 months old, I learned how to wave, and I learned how to give kisses.
Oh, straight up the queen, right there.
Yeah.
Just living her best life.
I think that's really all that matters over here. I started babbling when I was like 1 or 2 months old. Like, no, they weren't words, literal newborn speak, but I
yes.
would communicate with my mom. Goo goo gaga. She's like, yes.
I understand exactly what you mean. Yes, I do agree.
Alejandro.
I have no idea. At some point, I started walking.
Good to know.
You know,
Glad it's got
you know
you
what I
here.
mean? Yeah. No, I don't have any specific dates. I know I crawled before, because I know some people, like, my niece almost started walking before she could crawl, which was crazy.
I think same thing. Yeah. Like one of them refuses to. It's my niece, or not niece. Sorry, cousin. They're so young that they like their parents told me to call me Titi. But one of them refuses to crawl. They just like drag themselves across the floor. I don't know if that's changed, but
I've heard that there are just some babies that refuse to crawl and roll around to get around places.
That seems really like a efficient way to get around. It's just roll.
I mean, it's
As
probably
long as you
faster
don't
than
get
crawling.
dizzy.
Just throw up.
At least they made it to their destination.
Just knocked out on the floor.
Oh my god.
Enough. Moving on.
Okay, moving on to the second stage is the pre-operational stage, and this is like 2 to 7. And this is more where like symbolic thought come in and egocentrism. So like learning that they are who they are, like identifying with like who you like, gender-wise identifying with yourself, learning like, you know, your basic like 1 to 100 kind of thing. You can learn, you have like some challenges, but you learn like numbers, you're learning about nature, you're learning about, you can tell when something goes away that it's going to come back kind of thing. But they have a hard time with counting backwards. So like counting backwards from 100, or like doing the months backwards, like January, December to January.
Oh, I remember
So like
that, actually.
inflexible thought, but logical ideas are really difficult. So very simple, like, you know, A plus B equals C kind of thing. So like I feel like that's pretty accurate.
The
2
months
to
were
7.
rough for
Oh my gosh, yes. People are like, oh yeah, count your knuckles for the months. Or like, there's like a song you
What?
learn.
I've never heard that
I
before.
didn't learn any of that. I just straight up memorized the months.
Honestly,
it was,
I still kind of can't go backwards in months.
I don't think I've ever
knuckles
tried.
were to help you memorize which months had
30 and
which-
31 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I never learned that. And
Oh,
so it's,
yeah,
so it's
right.
the top
No, I
knuckles. So you
forgot
go
about that.
January has 31, February has 28, March has 31, April has 30, kind of thing,
Yeah,
and
I
goes on.
remember
And then
learning
when
that.
you get to July, you go back to August and it's on a knuckle because it's still 31.
Yeah.
July and August are 31. Alejandro's shocked over there.
This is revolutionary. This changes everything.
Yeah, right? Like, that's
Oh my
wild,
God.
right?
Well,
I learned that in 10th grade. y'all.
I learned that in
Really?
kindergarten.
I learned that in kindergarten as well. Well, I mean, I
Dog,
didn't
you
remember
girl.
it. I was
What
never
kind of
learned-
genius school did you go to?
I know. I never learned 30
don't
and
know.
31.
Austin
I just-
Elementary.
I don't know, private Catholic school. Academia,
Yeah,
looking
can
at
you
it.
like can you give me
January,
instructions on
February,
that?
March,
Like just
April,
write that
May,
down. I'm gonna need that
July.
later.
I got you.
Dude,
So,
I
like,
remember thinking
I never learned 30, 31, 28. I just kind of guessed and hoped I was right.
No, I literally from a baby, I remembered they taught me that, and I was like, why do I need this? I can just look at a calendar. And I did, and I never learned it.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. So learning something new in this. Anyways, I know, right? Like, it's just it's so weird. The next stage is your concrete operational stage. I'm sure you can tell from the name. A lot of the stuff you do is more concrete. You're able to like figure stuff out easier. You have better logical thought, so you can tell like 2 minus 2 can equal 0, right? And you can start doing basic multiplication. I just had a freak out because I thought I was wrong in that math, which just tells you
And,
something.
and that's 7 to when?
7 to 11. Yeah, and you have your 2 main achievements, which is logical and flexible thought. So you start realizing that change can happen, like environmental change with like words and stories. And that's when, like Magic Treehouse and stuff was popular when we were 7 to 11, right? Like,
No, it's interesting you say 7 to 11, like, is all the, like, concrete stuff with, like, change and everything. Because 7 to 11, I moved to Texas. I, like, was in Glen Hope for a year,
Same.
and then I went to Cross Timbers, and it was just, like, 3 big changes and, like, right in that stage. So
Yeah.
I guess it's a good thing it happened then.
yeah, you become less egocentric, so it's less, you realize things aren't always about you.
Oh, yeah, I also
Unfortunately-
remember that. I was so egotistical past
Oh
that
yeah,
point.
you start to learn that the world does not revolve around you, unfortunately. But you still aren't able to grasp like hypothetical situations or like impossible situations. So like, the people are like, imagine if, and you're like, no, I can't imagine that. And they're like, but imagine. There are people that are like in their adulthood that cannot grasp hypothetical situations.
I know a guy from my old district.
I know a guy.
I know a guy. He just can't imagine things. He has that thing, I don't remember what it's called, but he doesn't have the spectrum of imagination for hypotheticals and daydreaming. And he told me that people with this just don't realize that they have it because they
that's
think
so
everyone
crazy.
else thinks this way.
Yeah. And so like there are people, and like there's either that or there are people that just never conform to the idea of hypotheticals. They never want to imagine something. So like they're like stuck in like this childhood like in PJ's mind, this person even in adulthood would not have passed the concrete operational stage. They would have been stuck there for the rest of their lives because they aren't able to grasp that hypothetical thought.
I can't even. That's so crazy. I never thought about that because hypotheticals is such a big part of my day. This is why I overthink. Every
Yeah.
single thing that crosses my path, I'm like, okay, hypothetical. If I did like these 3 other things, what would have happened from that? Like, what can I take away from what didn't happen?
So
Oh my God.
unfortunately, overthinking is a sign that you are moving on to adulthood.
Yay.
It sucks.
My
It's
brain
like,
hurts.
Lovely.
Okay, the last stage that PSJ has come up with is formal operations, which is 12 to adulthood. Here you're able to take abstract thinking, critical thinking, problem solving. So this is when they this is when you become aware of all the world problems. You go to your parents and we're like, we have to recycle. Like the world is ending, we have to recycle. This is the time when you start becoming aware that the world isn't just your little community, but an entire planet.
Yeah,
I think
that
that's
was
really
12 on
interesting.
the dot for me.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because you notice a lot of our newer generations, like climate change activist people, they're really young. Like they start like 13, 14, because this is when they become aware of what is actually going on
That
in the
makes a lot of sense.
world. Yeah, right? I was like, wow. This is the one that like I feel like is very solid on like when you start thinking abstractly and you start becoming aware of problems in the world, like this is the time. Like, this is also when they introduce a lot of our more concrete historical events to us.
I was just gonna mention how like my cousin Juanqui, he is right on the 2013 mark. Juanqui,
What is that?
Can we go
Juanqui
back to
is
that
just
name,
Huang
please?
and KY, like just small kind
Juanqui.
of type of thing. It's
Yes.
Juanqui. Yeah, I know. It sounds so weird.
Love it.
like to non. I don't.
great.
He is right on the 2013 mark, and the disconnect is like wow.
It's
like
very
I-
blurry.
Yeah, and for him, I mean, it's not that he's like, I don't know, it's hard to like explain. It's just he was literally raised by the internet, and it's like the difference between the youngest, older than him would be my brother, and then him, it's yikes.
And it's like, and it's so weird because theoretically, me being born in 2004, the first Apple phone hadn't even come out yet. If you think about it, like the first Apple phone was released the year my sister was born, and my sister obviously 3 years, so 3 years younger than me. But like, and neither one of us, we didn't have a TV in the house, like I said, till she was 2. So like, sticks and rocks were like our favorite thing to play with, and then obviously all the dolls and stuff, and like we had so much family around us all the time that like, it's weird to see how differently we were raised and how differently. Also, like the internet provides a lot of advice for new parents, and so like them being raised is very, very different than how ours like more traditional way of being raised.
It opens up a lot of like areas of neglect for the child. Like the
It
parent,
does.
The parent
Oh,
gives
yeah.
the kid the iPad, leaves
Yeah.
for a couple hours, child misses that.
Yeah, that's what like freaks me out, because I always had the attention of adults, which is not
Yeah,
necessarily
same.
a good thing because I was 100% spoiled, but like just having those interactions, I learned so much. Like something I asked my mom, which is like, she gave me all of the specific facts that I asked, and then I just told her like, what's kind of like your opinion on my development as a whole. And basically what she said is just, I was a really smart kid, I learned really fast, and like because I was around so many adults as a kid, I just like adapted really quickly, and I was like constantly surrounded by people. Like I don't know, I consider myself the type of person that like if I am not like around other people, like I don't really see a point. Like I kind of like, I don't know, my personal view on it, like for me as a person is like, if I'm not interacting with other human beings, like what is there left?
Yeah, I was gonna say it also like raises a lot of questions of like introvert and extroverts. Like you notice a lot of the younger generation is more quiet, but those who are loud are like loud to an extreme, and also like it opens a lot of like
YouTubers.
But I was gonna say also for like mental awareness, like because these kids are on the internet so much more often than we were, they're more aware of mental capacities, mental awareness in general, like how they are feeling mentally. I feel like they're able to articulate better than we were, but their articulation is at such a higher level. I don't know. It's just it's interesting to think about. All right, well, that's the end of this childhood development episode. I hope y'all enjoyed learning Alejandro's new nickname.
Yes.
Specifically, when Cate ate baby carrots. Delyann and mine's favorite food, what we came out of the womb eating. I hope you enjoyed all of that. Learned a couple fun facts about Knuckles and the days of the year, or the months of the year. That one still blows my mind, honestly. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next one.
It was a great first episode for me.
Yeah, very memorable.
Yeah!